All right, it says you're live, which I guess means I'm live. So we're live. Hello, my friends. Christopher Maloney from Practice Warriors. I hope you're having an amazing day, a great Friday. Looking to the weekend. Maybe something good's going to be happening. I'm noticing right now my voice is a little shot. I just did a rollicking live video for our Facebook and Instagram followers. And I just spent 12 days on the road traveling throughout India and Turkey. So that was pretty cool. Just got in late last night. And boy, are my arms tired. No. So it's been a great 12 days and I am tired. But I am absolutely committed. Hello, Gerald. I am absolutely committed to doing this Friday Live with you because I think the topic I'm talking about today, practicing with time intervals, to me, I teach a lot of practice strategies at practicewarriors.com for our membership site. But I have to tell you, the thing I'm going to lay on you today is probably in my top 5 practice strategies that have helped me personally. And actually, I'm going to do a free bonus item, 3 free bonus tools, practice tools. I'm already blowing it. Practice tools. If you watch this thing, you'll get 3 free practice tools. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to put them in the chat. I'm going to put the link in the chat right there. Boom. So you click on that link at the end of this thing, and you get 3 free practice tools. One of those practice tools I'll talk about later, that was also in the top 5. So by watching this today and taking advantage of what I'm going to give you, you can get 2 practice tool strategies, ideas, mindsets that really could take you to the next level. This concept of time intervals. And as you probably know, I talk about on Friday what I taught for the Music Motivating Monday. So the Music Motivating Monday, this last Monday, was this concept of time intervals. But I only have 3 minutes to give you that little tip. And on these Friday lessons, I can do a deeper dive. The interesting thing when I was on Facebook and Instagram last hour is as I was going through the main idea of what I was talking about on Monday, I realized there was this whole other part of the concept that I had to describe first. And so I kind of stumbled a little bit in that one. So if you follow us on Facebook or Instagram, go back and watch that a little bit because you could see me like, I think I'll talk about this. But now I worked it out. And so now I want to give you guys a really clear idea about the power of time intervals. All right, let me get right to it. So when I was taking private lessons, when I first started playing, I was playing bass. It's the only instrument I was playing at the time. I was a good kid, took private lessons. So my teacher would teach me for 30 minutes and I'd say, okay, this is what I want you to work on this week. And I'd say, great. I would go home and I would practice until I could basically kind of do what he wanted me to do. And then I would just kind of jam. And that would be my practicing. I'd put on my Duran Duran records, my Police records, Van Halen, and I would, learn bass lines, Rush, all this stuff that a kid in the early 80s would listen to. I never had any thought about how long I should practice. I guess, I just get done what he told me to do, and then I have fun. And that's what I thought practice was. And I think that's what a lot of people think practice is. It ain't. Not when you want to make massive progress in a short amount of time. And even when I went to college and I majored in music. I was actually a double major, majored in music and broadcasting mass communications. I was in my own groups. We would write our own music. I was in the jazz ensemble, very difficult music that we played. It was like Frank Zappa meets Mahavishnu meets Benny Goodman, right? I had a lot of music to learn. And by learning that music, I did get better, right? But I still didn't think of how long should I practice, what specifically I should practice. It was really more about like just learn the song that I have to learn this week. You know what I mean? That was it. So I think I didn't start to learn this concept of time intervals until I went to the Musicians Institute in Los Angeles. Some of you may know it as GIT, BIT, all these types of instruments that were taught there. And I was taking all these different classes. So now remember, I'm not a hobbyist anymore. I now decided to dedicate my life to being one of the best electric bass players in the world, and I wanted to play with the best musicians in the world. That was the goal. Now, for you, that might not be your goal, or that you might be like, dude, I'm 55. I'm not gonna, be going hanging out with Steve Vai or Dweezil Zappa or Neil Sean from Journey or any of these other folks that you've played with. I just want to jam with my buddies at the blues jam and not look like an idiot. You know what I mean? But it doesn't matter. This technique works whether you can put 3 hours, 4 hours a day into it, or just maybe 1 hour a day, maybe one. Um, so I was taking all these different classes, and they were saying for every hour you took a class, you needed to practice 3 hours outside of the class. Now I'm like, wait a minute, I'm taking like 10 classes twice a week, some of them 3 times a week. It just wasn't going to happen. So what I tried to do first was practice all 10 things I was taking classes on in one practice session. Oh, yeah, I'm going to do all this. And I learned very quickly that wasn't going to work. First of all, I wasn't going to be able to get to everything. And I was going to be so confused and cluttered and spun around that I wouldn't stick with it and I wouldn't retain it. So I was practicing hard and I wasn't getting the results. Well, who wants to do that? So then, with the help from some great teachers at Musicians Institute, they taught me about trying to break everything down into 4 topics. 4 topics. Now, this is something that I talk about in our Practice Warriors Masterclass. In fact, I have a whole unit on deciding your topics. What should you practice? I can't answer that for you, but what I decided was I was going to work on the 3 main skills that I was working on in my core curriculum. So that was reading, scales and arpeggios, and techniques. Because I was a bass player, I wanted to learn how to slap and work on my articulations and dead notes and wanted to play with a pick. And so I wanted to learn all that. So that was 3 things. And then I left the 4th thing as sort of a wild card. I could throw other bits in there. I was working on jazz walking lines. I was working on all different types of Afro-Cuban and Brazilian styles. So I sort of saved those for the 4th one. Okay. So with that, I created a 1 hour practice schedule. So this is the first time I started to think of practicing in a schedule. Okay, I want to practice for 1 hour, not just practice for an hour, but have things to practice in that hour. So 4 topics. I said, okay, I'm going to practice each thing for 15 minutes. 15 minutes, that's not a lot of time. But if I focused for 15 minutes and didn't fart around and didn't get distracted with other things I wanted to play because I knew I would get to them eventually, I could stick with it. It's been scientifically proven. I can't quote my sources, sorry, but that most people's attention span fades after 15 minutes. Yeah. So I thought, okay, I don't want to get distracted. So let me do 15 minutes of reading, 15 minutes of scales and arpeggios, 15 minutes of technique, and then 15 minutes of these other things I wanted to work on. And they're not going to be as consistent, but at least I'll get to them. Okay. So I started it. Now, the cool thing, as an aside, the cool thing about having a 1 hour practice schedule is that if you only have 1 hour a day, you at least hit the most important things you were working on. But if you have more time, then you could practice them more, right? So if I had 2 hours, I would do my 1 hour practice ritual, scales, reading, because I didn't like reading. So I would do it first, right? Delaying gratification. So I would do reading. Does this make sense? Which finger should I point at? Reading, scales, technique, and then the extra bits. So I would do that for the first hour. And then for the second hour, I would do it again 15, 15, 15, 15. The breaking up of those topics help keep me interested and engaged. So I wouldn't do 30 minutes of reading if I had 2 hours. I would do 15, 15, 15, 15, 15. Second hour, 15 again. Another cool thing is that I didn't need 2 hours together. So again, I'm in music school, so I want to be practicing 2 to 4 hours a day in addition to all the playing I was doing in my classes. So I was basically playing my instrument 12 hours a day at this time. I know you can't do that, but this method works regardless. So I might have like an hour in the morning and an hour like between classes. I could go to the library, put on headphones, and plug in my bass and do an hour there. And then maybe I could do an hour when I got home at night. So there's 3 hours of practicing. But it wasn't just practicing, it was focusing on those same 4 topics, and specifically the top 3 that I wanted to get down. Does this make sense? So even if I only practice an hour a day, you go, dude, that means you're only working on reading for 15 minutes a day. How good can you get just doing 15 minutes a day? Well, it's 15 minutes a day, but it's an hour. Is my math right? An hour and 45 minutes every week. Okay. So if you're practicing the same exact skill for an hour and 45 minutes a week, 15 minutes a day, the consistency is the real winner. Wow. Are you practicing the same skill for an hour and 45 minutes a week? Are you? The same skill now, right? This is where you're going to make massive improvement. Focusing on one thing consistently every single day. Remember, this is a physical thing we're doing, regardless of what you're playing, right? It's a physical thing. And physical things need one thing to really master them: consistency. Your body has to learn and adjust to this to create the muscle memory needed to become really proficient at your skill. Does this sound cool? So remember, the concept was you lose focus after 15 minutes. So after 15 minutes, change what you're working on. Yeah. If you're getting bored with reading, bam, you work on your scales. And you're doing your scales like, good God, I'm tired. Bam, you go into something else, whatever it is. Yeah, does this make sense? Now you may look at me and go, Well, man, I just want to. I'm just working on that stupid bar chord, right? I'm working on the F. No one likes the F, so that's all I want to focus on. Great. We'll break working down on the F chord in three different things, right? So number one is maybe you're just trying to get the shape and you're plucking your strings and you're just trying to make sure every string is being heard. And then maybe you move that shape up the guitar neck if you're a guitar player. I'll do another example of another instrument. And then the second thing you can do is you could say, okay, let me arpeggiate those notes, or let me go from a C chord to an F chord, right? And then the third thing could be, all right, let me play the F chord in a song I'm working on. Cool. Then the fourth thing could just be, I don't want to work on the F chord. I want to work on this blues scale. And you could just make it something totally different. But there you go, right? So you have one skill you're working on, but you could break it up into three or four things. And if you're like, I can't think of four, fine, do three for 20 minutes. But no, again, that your attention might diminish. If you're playing a scale, a B flat scale on your horn or the keyboard, and you say, I just want to get this, B flat major scale together. Great. One, play the scale. Listen to your tone, especially if you play horns. If you play keyboards, try to do it in 2 octaves, 3 octaves, right hand only, left hand only, hands together. Okay, so that's just one thing. Two, try to do different intervallic things. Play it in thirds. 1, 3, 2, 4, 3, 5. Try that. Try them in sequences. All right. Third thing, create melodies and improvise with that scale. Yeah, right? So there you go. You've got three things you can do with just one topic. Cool. I love this concept. And let me tell you, I went from being really overwhelmed in music school to like really focused and making huge improvement. Hell, I graduated with this program as the most outstanding student. They gave me a free Fender jazz bass. What? The school ended up hiring me to teach there and to not only do that, but to audition all the other incoming bass players. Not bad. Not bad from a punk kid from Syracuse, New York, who spent 10 years barely even knowing how to practice. This method of doing this in time intervals really changed the game for me. Let me add another dimension to it. By the way, if you guys have any questions about this, throw them up in the comments. I'll answer them right now. I see Jeffrey threw up peace sign and guitar and cool thing. I love it. That inspires me to get more into this. Let me go deeper. I went even deeper with this. Sometimes even 15 minutes was too long for me. I don't care what the science has said. When I was working on something that was really challenging and really kicking my butt, um, I couldn't do it for 15 minutes. I could do it, but my mind would wander. You ever read a book and maybe you're tired or the reading is quite dense and you have to read the same, like you go through the paragraph and then go, wait, I wasn't even reading it. Like, oh no, I got to go back and read it again. Have you ever done that? Even if it's a book you want to read, sometimes you just drift. And I noticed in the 15 minutes of working on, say, reading, I would drift. And sometimes I would just do something stupid, like I would just stop practicing the reading and start doing like a cool slap groove. Like I just abandoned ship. So what I decided is, how about if I chunk it into 5-minute intervals? 5 minutes. Anybody can focus for 5 minutes. I didn't want 15 minutes of somewhat focused. I wanted 15 minutes of like serious focus. So I went and bought a timer. This is before phones. I had to go to the grocery store, buy an egg timer, right? 5 minutes. And so then I'd be like, all right, I'm going to work on my reading, for example, and I'm going to do it for 5 minutes. No screwing around. Put on that timer and I would focus. And I could do it because there's only 5 minutes. And I'd work on like one measure that would just kick my butt. This is so, I had 16th notes and articulations. And I get like 2 measures into it. And then the boop, and the egg timer would go off. And all I would do is I would go to the timer, set it for another 5 minutes. But the cool thing was, I took my eyes off the page. Here, go, 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 go. 5 minutes, boom. And just that little break of me resetting the timer was enough for me to like kind of change the palette a little bit. Okay, these 2 measures suck. Let's do it again. Bam! Another 5 minutes, intense focus. The cool thing was, I was like, okay, now I'm getting used to these 2 measures. Now I'm on the 3rd, the 4th. Cool, I'm starting to retain it. This is great. Beep, beep, beep. The 5 minutes would go off. Eyes off the music. Change the timer. Come back to the music. Boom. All of a sudden, I'm like, okay, I'm actually inspired to continue working on this. Much of it was knowing that it was going to mercifully end in these next 5 minutes. I mean, part of the focus is almost like, well, I'm almost done with this. You know what I mean? Whatever drives you to get it done, let it get done. So I would finish the last 5 minutes. Now, here's the key, right? If you have checked out any Practice Warriors stuff, any of my Music Motivating Money videos, whatever it is, I am a stickler for having a practice log. Writing stuff down so that you know what it is that you worked on. So when my final 5 minutes was up, I would take my practice log, write down reading chapter 4, page example, or whatever it was, 823. Maybe I'd have a transcription of a solo I wanted to learn. So that's cool. I was learning improvisation and reading, right? And I'd write it down. And then I would stand up, stretch, take a drink of water. I would take a 1 or 2 minute break. I wouldn't leave the room. I would just take a little moment. Then I would look at my practice log. Oh, next is scales. This is what I worked on yesterday or in the last session. There was no, I got to work on scales. What am I going to do? No. Focused practice. Boom. Okay, that's what I worked on. Boom. Here's what I'm working on. Set the egg timer. 5 minutes, 5 minutes, 5 minutes. Done. Write it down. What's the next thing? Technique. Well, I was working on this slap groove from this book. Okay, boom. There's the book. 5 minutes, 5 minutes, 5 minutes. Done. Cool. Now you do that, even if you could just dedicate an hour a day. If you do that for 2 or 3 weeks, and you look back in your practice log, you will be amazed at the progress you will make. So, again, if all you want to do is learn songs for your cover band, cool, man. If that brings you joy, great. I'm all for it. I'm here for it. But you will not get better. You will not get substantially better. My problem was, for the first 10 years of playing music, I just thought, this is as good as I'm going to get. And if I encountered something that was too difficult for me to play, I'd get it 80% and be like, well, that's it. That's all it's going to be. I didn't have the faith to be able to move on from that. But if I could focus on that thing that was kicking my arse, and I could do that for 15 minutes a day, all of a sudden 3 weeks later, that thing wasn't kicking my butt anymore. And I was able to play it perfectly for the rest of my life, as long as I maintain it once in a while. And this worked for me in my professional life. And I don't really want to get too much into this because one of the free practice tools I want to offer you today is actually a video lesson that you can get for free that talks about how you can build your speed. So that's that. So I've got to, I want to check out some of the comments. So Gerald said, my problem is getting off my butt and practice. I live in a really small house, so a dedicated space to set up or a place to keep my guitar out. Yeah, I find myself watching YouTube all day. Okay, so thank you, Gerald, for that comment. I need my glasses to read this small. Yeah, you and everybody else. It's so easy, especially if we have good intentions to work on stuff. Like work on music. You get into that YouTube rabbit hole, and what happens is you start seeing all these cool things you want to learn, and you don't do any of it. It's just kind of more fun to watch people talk about these things, whether it's a great Rick Beato video or, geez, so many musicians are on there, hey, this is how I wrote this guitar solo, or this is where oh my God, Donald Fagen talking about writing the chord progressions to his songs. I could watch that forever, but it's not helping me grow as a musician unless I see what Donald Fagen did and then turn off YouTube, sit at my piano, and try to incorporate some of the ideas and concepts he did into one of my own original songs. So the YouTube thing is cool, and you can actually take this concept, find one skill you see being taught on YouTube, one skill. Don't watch the guy shred on a solo. That's cool, but find like one concept and then try this 15-minute idea every single day and see in 2 weeks how that works for you, right? And the cool thing is, if you're practicing for 15 minutes on one skill and you do that, 4 topics for an hour, that's 15 minutes for each topic, 1 hour. Do that every single day for a couple of weeks, see your progress. The cool thing is, once you're done with the hour, if you want to fart around on YouTube and watch videos and noodle and play stuff that you're already good at, which is not practicing, that's fine. Because you've done what you needed to do. So I would never feel guilty about farting around on my instrument if I did my practice ritual, my 1 hour practice ritual. And, doing it for 3 or 4 hours a day when I went to school, that was great. But for the 20 years I was recording, performing, touring, playing with all these freakazoid musicians, I could never practice that amount of time again. I just didn't have the time. I mean, when you're on tour, 90 minutes, 2 hours you're playing, and then you're just traveling or sleeping or having a couple of beers after the show. It would be very difficult to dedicate time to maintain your practice ritual. I only know personally one musician who could do that. It was a drummer named Virgil Donati. And Virgil could practice in a closet if he had to. I've seen that guy create a drum set with a stack of phone books in a hotel room. The guy was nuts. Check him out, Virgil Donati, another YouTube rabbit hole. But this brings me to Gerald's other question, and we're going off topic, but I don't care. I'm here to answer your questions. A practice space in your house. This is so important that I think it's the 4th unit of our masterclass. The first 3 units of our masterclass on practicewarriors.com is all about mindset. It's all about changing your mindset. Had to do that first because I could teach all the greatest practice strategies in the world, but if you don't think you can be a great musician, it ain't gonna work. So the first topic after mindset was setting up your practice space. So the thing is, I don't care how small your house is. I don't care how small you live. If you have space for a chair and a guitar stand, you've got all the space you need. And I like what you wrote down, a place to keep your guitar out. Yes, whatever instrument you play, take it out of the case and have it in your face. I On the Practice Warrior site, we interview all these great musicians, and one of the first interviews I did was with my buddy John Wesley. And John Wesley was the touring guitarist for Porcupine Tree, a wonderful, wonderful progressive rock band. And I've played shows with Wes, and he's just a wonderful guy, good friend of mine. And one of the things we talked about was, how do you stay driven to practice, especially if he's not on tour and he doesn't have a bunch of stuff to work on. I think now he's touring with Vertical Horizon. I'm like, how do you stay driven to maintain your skills? And he asked me, well, we're in my house, we're interviewing my house. He said, what do you see all over my house? And I said, well, actually, I see a lot of wine. And he said, yes, 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 my wife loves wine. But what else do you see? And I see a lot of guitars. In every room, Wes had a guitar. And basically, whether he was sitting watching a kid's show with his son, or whether he was out having wine with his wife, or whether, wherever he was, there was the opportunity for the instrument to call out. Derek Phillips, the drummer with Brad Eldridge, Kurt Elling, Hank Williams Jr. I sat down and interviewed Derek, and he said the same thing. This is why I interview these people. They keep saying the same things. I'm hoping you'll do it, right? Derek has practice pads all over his house. He walks by a pad. He's like, hey, let me get 15 minutes working out this pattern. So, Gerald, I love the thing you said. Get your guitar out of the case, keep it in front of your face so that you walk by it and you go, you know what? I haven't practiced in 2 days. Let me sit, you know what? Let me not even practice. Let me just grab the instrument. Let me play a few chords. Let me noodle on a little scale. Let me put on YouTube. Hey, if you're a YouTube addict, just check. Hey, we've got a lot of backing tracks that you can play along with. But even if you don't do ours, just type in, E pentatonic backing track and just noodle a little bit with your scale. I think that if you just can get off your butt and sit in your practice space and just play something, anything. Next thing you know, you go, okay, I'm just going to practice for 15 minutes. Next thing you know, 15 minutes turns into 5 hours. Well, probably not that, but probably like an hour, right? It's a strange thing because I preach a lot of stuff, but then there's a lot of stuff that I'm like, look, if you can just do this, all I want, my trip to India that I just took, that's because of music. All the touring and all the great places I've seen, it's music. The most incredible joy I've had in my life has been with music. Music has built my whole life. Everything I have, my relationships, my friendships, it all comes to music. I love music so much. It has done so much for me, not just professionally, but as a human being, and the happiness that I have. And that is why I started Practice Warriors, because I saw people, I would teach people privately. I saw them wanting this joy that I had. They saw it in me. They saw it in my playing and my ability and just the excitement I had teaching them. And they just had these doubts about playing. And so I'm like, I got to create something where I can convince people that they can be great musicians. You can be as great as you want. So I developed this whole system to have you practice like the pros. Having said that, sometimes you just want to be excited about playing. because practicing is hard work. And even with the master class, and I teach, I say, hey, you'll learn how to practice like the pro. Yeah, but you still got to freaking practice, right? So I teach you about how you can create drive to practice, but sometimes all you can do is just sit at your instrument and just have 15 minutes of joy. And if that means you're just playing something that you're already good at, I tell you not to do that. But if that's all you're going to do that day, then do it. If you're just going to sit there and play, happy birthday for your spouse, you know what? I'm going to play this Alicia Keys song, or, you know what? I just learned Horse with No Name from America. It's like 2 chords, you know, whatever. Do it. Do it. Get in your practice space and play. You don't need a lot of space. You just need the space to hold your instrument. If you have a digital keyboard, you need this much space. It's drums and piano. Those are the ones that really take up the most space. So try to dedicate at least 15 minutes a day to sit down with your instrument and have a relationship with it. Okay? And then if you can do that consistently, then start thinking about what is it that I want to get good at? And if you're YouTube hopping, find 3 or 4 skills that you see other people doing, and then go, okay, let me start to work on those skills, right? Do that. Now, I'm a big proponent of private lessons. If you're going to spend $500 on an instrument, my belief is you should spend that much money on private lessons, right? If you're going to invest $500 in a guitar or a beginner trumpet, then spend that money, equal money, on improving your skills. It's not easy to learn on your own. If you take remote lessons, great, do it remotely through Skype or whatever. But work with someone one-on-one, especially in the beginning. If you think you're going to get an instrument and learn on YouTube, I'll talk to you in 2 years when you want to sell it. And then I'll inspire you to practice, man. And one of those things is taking lessons. In fact, I think that's unit 5 in our masterclass, how to find the perfect teacher for you. All right. But if you're insistent you're not going to do that, then, okay, I want to work on learning jazz chords. They're not jazz chords. So you can Google search learning jazz chords. And there are so many great websites out there that teach you your instrument. I don't teach you how to play an instrument on Practice Warriors. I already assume you can play some things. I teach you the practice strategies to be able to practice those things efficiently. And then we do deep dives into practice. How do you practice scales? How do you practice your rhythm and timing? So really, Practice Warriors membership is the perfect thing that you would work in tandem with private lessons. If you take private lessons and you're a member of Practice Warriors, first of all, your teachers are going to love you. And second of all, you're just going to get more out of it. Sounds like I'm promoting Practice Warriors. Go to the site and check it out yourself. Let's see. Do you think having a set time every day is a good idea? Yes, I do. But here's another important practice hack. And we teach this in the masterclass. What I would do is I would start on Sunday night. And we have a practice log that you can do this with. I would start on Sunday night and I would look at my week. And I'd see, okay, what are some things that I can't change? All right, well, I got to work. All right, I got to work from 8 to 6. You poor sucker, right? Okay, well, I'm not going to tell you to wake up at 5 a.m. and practice for an hour. That's stupid. You're not going to do it. So I'd say, okay, on Monday from 8 to 6, I work. I get home. What do I do when I get home? well, I do this, then I have dinner, then I have this. So I would say on Monday, try to practice. Let's see, what do we do every day? We eat dinner. So practice right after you eat dinner. So if you're going to eat dinner every day and you want to practice every day, why don't you anchor practicing with eating dinner? So now you go, I eat dinner, I practice. I eat dinner, I practice. Pretty soon, all of a sudden you like link eating dinner to practicing. Now let's say you go, well, I do have like this yoga class, or I have this continuing education class on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and I don't get home till late. Okay, well then you could schedule your practicing at a different time on those days. You just try to make it work for you, but schedule your practicing. Schedule your practice time so that you can do it. Knowing how and what to practice is important. Yes, Jeffrey, thank you. And that's another thing we talk about again in the master class, right? Let's go deeper into this. I'm getting questions. I'm getting inspired, right? So, what do I practice? Well, that's not the first question. The first question is, what kind of a musician do I want to be? When I look at my fully formed musical self, I think about what would make me happy. What is that? What is that to me? So I'll relate it to me. When I was coming up playing bass as a teenager, I would see myself like playing this really cool slap groove and then like taking this solo. So I was into jazz and pop. So I was into like Duran Duran and the Police, but I was also into like Benny Goodman and like Weather Report. I was into this different kind of stuff. So I go, okay, this is what I want to do. I also want to play really fast. I want to play fast. I want to play fast. So I go, okay, well, I would talk with my private teacher. This is what I want to do. This is what I want to be. And the teacher would say, well, this is why it's good to have a teacher to get the feedback. Say, okay, well, you want to be able to solo, right? So that means you got to know how to play your scales and you need to know them on your instrument. So now this is what you need to practice. You want to play slap bass, you need to work on that particular technique. Yep, there's another topic, right? And, you know, your timing is a little off. So we need to work on some timing exercises. Okay, so once you know what you want to do, the kind of musician you want to be, now you can start to set up your goals. You can have your big goal. I want to be, you know, this guy. I want to do this. But then you got to set up those little temporary goals, those little goals to start to work towards that big goal. And again, in our masterclass, I walk you through this step by step. So I put you through exercises. You have homework to do. I give you a workbook and you have to just write out all this stuff. It's wonderful self-discovery. So now you know your goals and you've chosen your topics, the thing you'll work on. The next thing you got to do, I think, if I remember the order of the class, is you got to schedule your time. That's what I talked about earlier, in that you make sure that you practice these things you want to do consistently. And let me tell you something, if you do what I'm telling you to do, if you take our master class, you will see within a month or two huge improvement. It's really crazy. So, did I get to it? Did I answer questions? Do we have more questions? What's happening? Let me know if you got more questions. But let me tell you now. Oh, I'm going to put this in the comments again. Ooh, get your free items here. So, for watching this up until midnight tonight, I'm going to offer 3 free practice tools. Okay, remember at the beginning of this, if you were watching me since the beginning, I told you there's like 5 things practice things that have truly made me the musician I always dreamed I could be. One of them, practicing with time intervals. So we talked about that. Two, something we talked about that I didn't think to talk about, a practice log. Yeah, you gotta write down what you're practicing so that every day when you go to practice the next day, you know what you worked on. You don't waste any time. So, practicing with time intervals, creating the 1 hour practice ritual changed my life. Two, having a practice log. What? Three, was actually changing my mindset to be able to work through challenges that before I thought I wouldn't be able to accomplish. I didn't have faith in the learning process. So, what is that third thing? Well, if you go to the special link, I will send you right away, as soon as you give me your email address and your name, um, a 18-minute video lesson on what I call the 3 Ps to music mastery. The 3 Ps, P word. What do you think one of them is? Practice, obviously. But there are two other concepts that if you don't understand and use these concepts, you will fail because you're going to quit. You're going to not have the faith in the learning process, and you will not become the musician you've always dreamed you could be. What are the other 2 Ps? Find out and get the free video. The second free thing is another video lesson, and this is the fourth of my top 5 favorite things that really made me a top level musician. And it's a 28-minute video lesson called Speed Builder. And basically, I teach you in real time. I literally learn something while you're watching the video, and I show you the method. You could basically learn to play anything you want as fast as you want it. And that sounds too good to be true, but it isn't because it's practicing. It's going to take you a long time to learn it. But in terms of learning the concept, you'll have it in 30 minutes. And I learned this because during my career, I had to take every gig that I was offered because I had to eat. And I was only playing, recording, touring, and teaching music. So I had to do this. And there would be times that I would get a song, I'd be hired to do a job, and it would be some high level group. And they'd say, okay, you got to play these 15 songs. And some of the songs, I have to tell you, I couldn't play them. Like I did not have the skill to play the song. I'm like, no, you don't understand. I physically can't play that fast. And they said, well, that's great, but the gig's in a month, so good luck. So I learned how to use my metronome to take something I could not physically play and within time build the skills and the speed to play it. Sound cool? So you get that free video. And the third free practice item you get by clicking on the link in the comments is a really cool PDF about the 15 myths of learning music. And a lot of people fail to be a great musician because they have these false ideas about what learning music and practicing is. So I think you'll really enjoy that. If you go to that link, you get all those things for free and a 14-day free trial for Practice Warriors. So all of these things, all of these nuggets that I've been telling you, you get to learn all of it in a 14-unit masterclass. And then when you're done with the masterclass, there are hundreds of practice videos on all the essential musical skills. So your piano teacher goes, okay, go home and practice the scale. And you play it up and down a couple times. You're like, I'm bored. Well, I'll teach you 20 different ways to practice the scale where you won't be bored. I'll teach you 15 ways to take that scale and turn it into cool melodies. You have trouble with your timing? I'll show you 20 ways to practice your timing without your instrument. You know those two guys I mentioned earlier, right? John Wesley from Porcupine Tree and Brett Eldridge's drummer, right? Derek Phillips. We interview people like this, and you get to watch their interviews. And it's the only place on planet Earth where our website is totally dedicated to teaching you practicing. And these folks only talk about practicing. It's pretty cool. So you can sign up for Practice Warriors with a 14-day free trial anytime you want. Just go to the site. Heck, I'll give you a free tips book just for going to the site. But if you want these 3 other bonus offers, go to the special link before midnight tonight, Pacific time. Yeah? What do you think? Is it fun? Cool? Just try it. Look, if you try Practice Warriors for 13 and a half days, I don't take your credit card. I don't take anything. Actually, we do take the credit card, but we don't charge you for anything. We don't charge you a dime until 14 days is up. So you can check out Practice Warriors for 13 days and then go, nope, don't want to do it. You cancel, you're not charged a thing, and you keep your 3 free bonus items and probably the tips book. All right. So I think we answered all the questions. Listen, if you have additional questions after watching this, if you're watching this after the live broadcast and you go, okay, that sounds cool, but, or how does it apply to me? Put it in the comments and I will respond. Doesn't matter if this was 3 weeks ago. I want to help you. This is why I started Practice Warriors. This is my new mission in my life. I love music. I'm still playing music. I got a new solo record coming out. I am having the time of my life. I want everyone to have this feeling that I have. All the crap that's going on in the world right now, all this, it just seems like so many people are unhappy. And unhappy people cause problems and cause drama. So I think if people can just play music, share their love with music, I think the world can be a better place. I think you will be a happier person. So let's do this. So any questions you have, put them up. I am here for you. All right? All right, my friends. Thanks so much for hanging out with me. I love it. We got some likes. We got some comments. Share this. Like and subscribe to our channel. We are almost at the golden 1,000 subs on this. And I'll keep sharing all this free stuff with you. Our Practice Warriors membership is just $19.99 a month. It's nominal, less than probably 3 cups of coffee at Starbucks. But the stuff we share on YouTube, we share you snippets of it. That's all for you guys. Let me know what I can do to help. All right, I'm just babbling. I'm going to end it. Thank you so much, my friends. Click on that link and let me know if you want me to do it next week. Take care.